How do you pray? How do you pray? How do you pray? This has to be the number one question that all Quranis get asked, and for good reason. We consider it to be the most important act in Islam. Some would even go as far as to say not doing it makes you not a Muslim. So how do you pray? Well, believe it or not, the Quran actually does a decent job at teaching you how to pray. It mentions what times to pray, it mentions 3 aspects on how to pray, it mentions where to face, and what to do before Salah. What more do you need? Just for a second, let's adopt their view and say that the Salah that is exclusively mentioned in the Quran is the proper way to do Salah, and all other ways people do Salah is bid'ah. The only way to hold this view is via a grand conspiracy. Think about it. The Quran mentions Salah and it mentions masajid, specifically mentioning certain masajid by name. The word masjid means a place where people do sujood, meaning people were already doing some form of Salah in the masjid during the time of the Prophet. The Quran also mentions Salah can/should be done in congregation, meaning groups of people were doing Salah at the masjid regularly. If we were to take this to mean that the Muslims during the time of the Prophet would come together and do Salah at the masjid in the Qur'ani version of Salah, how in the world did that change? You don't see masajid doing Salah in the Qur'ani version, so how did that happen? Are we really supposed to believe that the act of Salah that was so much talked about in the Quran as the way to get to Jannah and what separates believers from non-believers, that one day someone just went into the masjid and was like, yeah, let's do something else and modify the Salah. And everyone was like, sure, I have nothing better to do. Completely changing the Salah and everyone just accepted. Even if we were to say that, which is already way past the Overton window, surely we'd have some record of people mentioning such a massive shift in how Salah is done. This is a massive change in the system for Muslims in such a large part of the world, and not a single person objected or even mentioned it historically. Which one makes more sense? Either you believe that conspiracy, or the Prophet taught people how to do Salah with certain variations, and that's how everyone for the most part does Salah the exact same way in times. It just doesn't even pass the sniff test, to be honest. This is an example of moral luck, which is a topic for another day, but in short, what I mean by this is that most Muslims just luckily landed on the belief that made the most sense, which is that the Qur'ani version of Salah is irrational. The reason why I say this is because no one ever really brings this up. They just say, how do you do Salah? Not because they actually thought of it, but because they heard someone else say it. And when a Qur'ani mentions the ayat that talk about standing, ruku', sujood, non-Qur'anis are left speechless. But try to think about your views and stop parroting other people, please. If you're a Qur'ani and have a response to this conspiracy, let me know in the comment section below, inshallah. I'd love to hear your explanation. With that said, Assalamu alaikum.